We are live, and this is going to be a great live, like last week's was. So, if you were here listening last week, we literally broke down the three categorical moats or the three strategic moats that you could build to protect your business through building your personal brand in 2026. Then, what we dove into were the proven social media platforms that you should double down on in 2026. And we went through why. And then the three mediums of content that you should double down on in 2026 to give yourself the greatest strategic advantage as you're building your personal brand. And of course, by no surprise, one of the number one platform across the board when we put it into ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Claude, Grok was LinkedIn. And the number one medium of content that you could leverage to build your personal brand in 2026 and have the most strategic advantage, especially in the age of AI, is live video. And so we're going to kind of fuse those two categories today. And we're going to go through a strategic 10-step guide for established business owners, especially if you're a niche B2B expert, on how you can implement a live video strategy on LinkedIn, what that 10-step strategy would look like, and how it could affect your business, obviously, in a positive way, and what it would really take to implement, because that's one of the things. Now, the greatest part of this is that you're probably going to be one of one in your category or in your specific niche, because hardly any of your competitors probably even know that LinkedIn Live video exists, let alone do it, let alone do it well. So just understand from the get-go, you're starting at a major advantage point. And so I have my materials, prepared. I'm going to bring them up here so that I could follow this. And again, if you have any questions throughout this live video, all you have to do is put it in the comments. And just give me 1 second. I'm going to bring it up. I hope you're doing well today. All right. Okay. So my video is freezing. Is it still frozen? Are we good? Good now? Okay. All right. So this is the 10-step strategic guide for established small business owners to go live on LinkedIn in 2026. And if you are that small business owner, then I want you to put SMB in the chat. And is it freezing again? Put yes in the chat if it is. Okay, it's still freezing. Hold on. All right, hold on. Let's fix this. I'll be right back. All right, is it working? Let's see. We will work through these technical issues. Because last week, and I think it's actually one of the chords, last week we thought we diagnosed the problem, obviously, and it was like a 3-hour video asset that couldn't be used. Okay, so now it's good. Okay. All right, so let's do this. 10-step strategic guide for established small business owners to go live on LinkedIn in 2026. This is obviously not for you if I have to convince you that video is important, if I have to convince you that doing things that your competitors are unwilling to do is important. And it's just not. It's for people that you may know that LinkedIn Live is important, that video is important, that you probably should be doing it. You just need a strategic path to actually execute. You're probably an established business owner, an SMB, you sell to other businesses. It's ideal if you have at least 2,000 to 4,000 connections on LinkedIn currently. And we'll get into why. So having a network of 2,000 to 4,000 connections on LinkedIn will really help this strategy, at least from the beginning. If you don't have that yet, then I recommend going to the YouTube channel or just looking at my LinkedIn newsletters. There are plenty of resources that will tell you exactly what to do. There's also a 30-day video challenge that's like $6 to join on the YouTube channel, where if you're just starting on LinkedIn or if you have less than 2,000 connections, I highly recommend you following. And of course, if you're B2B, you're probably selling something that's at least 25K or more. And you know that with the rise of AI, it's easy for an agent or an LLM or whatever to post text. It's easy for somebody to create a LinkedIn profile or any social media profile, really, create a name, create a persona, put a profile picture, and then attach a text post to it. You don't even know if they're a human. You don't even know if that person really believes that thing because they're just outsourcing their personal brand, and it'll eventually catch up. But the thing is that you ideally don't want to do that. So we're going to start with the things that are going to be the hardest to commoditize in the age of AI, and one of those things being live video. So one of the greatest mediums to do this is with live video, obviously. Number one, you prove that you're a real human. So it's hard for, at least for now, for an agent or some avatar to go live for 30 minutes on a particular subject matter and for it to feel natural, for questions to be answered on the spot, and for those questions to not feel like it's robotic. All right. So at least for now, that's hard to commoditize. It's much easier to, again, put a text post with a fake image from Nano Banana, to do an AI avatar 25-second reel that's very superficial. Those are the things that are right now are being eaten by AI in the market. And so you want to, as you're building your personal brand, especially on a platform on LinkedIn, where there are very high quality, high echelon, high ticket buyers, where 4 out of 5 people are decision makers, you don't want to be using those mediums. You want to signal authority, expertise, that you're real, credibility. We're going to do that through live video. There are also many other data points which, will point you towards live video. And let's talk about those. And before we talk about those, I want you to understand that this is what I'm sharing with you today is not just based on the data. It's also based on me going live hundreds of times on LinkedIn in the last few years. I'm probably the LinkedIn coach, the LinkedIn expert, whatever you want to call me, that has trained and been the catalyst for probably the highest number of business owners on LinkedIn to also start going live on video, and also hundreds of webinars and probably over 25 challenges, multi-day challenges at this point. So when I talk about live video, it's not me regurgitating some ChatGPT thing. It's based off of real experience. And if you have no idea who I am, my name is Shanae Murray. I have almost 1 million followers on LinkedIn. Like I said, have been live hundreds of times on LinkedIn, have trained over 100 business owners to go live on LinkedIn. They still go live today, and we're going to get to it. So if you're looking for how to start going live, not just technically, but strategically, then you're in the right place with the right person. So let's look at the data first before we look at the 10 steps. Number one, the first data point that I want to highlight is live video, based on the data, converts higher than many other formats. So live, if you're just like on a website, the conversion rate could be anywhere between 1% to 3%, or if you're putting a link in your newsletter article or whatever. On an on-demand video, that could also be the case. It's like 1,000 people watch the video, maybe one person will buy, right? So maybe 10 people click on the link or one person will buy. On live video, you could easily get to the point where you have up to 30% conversion with the live audience that you have. And 10% conversion is the lower set of the average. So going from 1%, this is the stat that just drives me insane. It's like drop a link and you get 1% average, or go live and you get 10% average. And that's at the low end. You can build up to 30%. Okay. This is more than 3 to 10x higher conversion rates in many cases. Why? Because live video enables real-time questions, demonstrations, social proof, urgency, and because people get a sense of who you really are. You may even have a case study. You may even demonstrate whatever you're trying to sell on the actual live, like if it's a tool or a product. If it's a service, you could walk people through how it works, answer questions on the spot. Those make the inbound calls that derive from those lives feel very natural, because you could have answered a question of theirs live on the call, and then it just continues the conversation on the back end. So that's just based on data. Traditional conversion rates, 1% to 3%, live conversion rates, 9% to 30%. Okay. The live streaming market is exploding. So the market growth, global live streaming market is $100 billion, and it was $100 billion in 2024. By 2030, it'll be $345 billion. This means businesses across industries are going to obviously want to ride this wave. So they'll be hosting live video on social, live events, live education, live Q&A, webinars, live product demos. I'll also add that I believe that hosting in-person events, like it's easier to sell an in-person event to a live audience, in my experience, than an on-demand audience. And not even just that it's easier, but it's easier to get the right people, so I would say that if you just have an on-demand audience, they really don't get a sense of your personality, of who you are, even how you would react. Let's just say the technical issue that happened today. Some people would have freaked out and ended the live, whatever. But I've done this enough to know, like, it was going to happen one way or the other. You just have to be patient and navigate some of the issues. The point is that the people that get a sense of who you are probably going to be better fit when you do host live events, going to be more of the right fit when they do inquire inbound. That's just based on what I've seen, not just for myself, but with clients. Live video drives action and engagement. So key statistics there, 55% of viewers visit a brand's website after watching a video. That's insane. So everyone that's like, how can I get more people to my website? How can I get more people here, there, whatever? How can I get more people to go to my landing page? Go live. Like literally that is the answer. Go live. It also will take the burden off of editing. If you're a true expert, if you've really been in the game, if you know that you're one of the best at what you do, but you just need visibility and to build that communication with people, live video is literally the best medium to start taking advantage of, because there's less competition. You're probably fine sharing. You have more stories to share. You have more case studies to share. You have more of a sense of nuance and different perspective to bring even to the simplest questions. And those are the things that will drive the actions. So 55% of viewers visit a brand's website after watching a video. 92% of mobile video viewers share videos with others. That's insane. This is data, Okay, I'll put the sources in the description and stuff, but I really don't see how a small business owner who wants to take LinkedIn seriously, and not just LinkedIn, but maybe building the personal brand seriously in 2026, can read some of these data points and just completely ignore it. On top of that, knowing that this is also the medium that most of their competitors won't even touch. So it's like you get this strategic advantage because it's a blue ocean, and then look at all of these stats. And you best believe that when these stats are here, it's going to also incentivize the platforms to support and boost and promote people that do go live because it's in their best interest to do so. Specific to LinkedIn, LinkedIn Live generates significantly higher engagement than just posting on the feed. So it generates 7 times more reactions and 24 times more comments. I will say that in my experience, this depends on who your ICP is. And it also depends on whether you posted content prior to start going live. What do I mean by that? If you are an expert in helping people get a job, or like, for example, I have a very successful case study with a client. She helps medical sales reps get to the next stage in their career, but they're usually already employed. Someone like that can't go live and be like, yeah, if you hate your job, put me in the chat, especially on LinkedIn, because they're not going to do that because their boss is probably watching or their colleagues are watching. They're just not, it's in bad taste. So how you strategically approach engagement will really depend on who it is that you're speaking to and what services it is that you provide them with. If you're speaking to a board director or a president and you help them, get through a plateau that they're having with growth, you're not going to say, hey, if your growth has stalled, put I in the chat. They're never going to admit to that. Their colleagues are on there, their competitors, their employees. So again, this one of the things that I help my clients with is how to approach engagement to where they want to engage. Obviously, the higher level of role that your ICP is, and the bigger the company, the more they're going to withhold engagement naturally. So if you're speaking to small business owners, the level of engagement that you're going to get is probably just higher on baseline than if, again, you're speaking to people who want to up-level their career and their boss is watching on LinkedIn. So that's a nuance there. However, it is still the best place to get more comments and more likes, more engagement if you know what you're doing. So I'll just say that. Also, let's just say I have two B2B experts and they're in something niche and they have the same audience, they have relatively the same amount of followers, but one of them has been posting video clips and text posts and images and at least a monthly LinkedIn newsletter for the last 6 months. That person is probably going to get a higher baseline level of engagement, at least from the get-go, than the other person, because the other person hasn't really warmed up their audience to that level. And so those are the nuances that kind of you need to kind of consider when you do this. But again, it still is the best place to get engagement because by proxy, by just creating the event, you really get engagement. People raise their hands and they say that they're coming to the event, and you basically build a segmented lead list, and we'll get into that shortly. Why does this matter? So why does getting more comments on a LinkedIn Live or getting more engagement on a LinkedIn Live video, or really just building a segmented audience by hosting a planned LinkedIn Live video event and doing your invites matter? It matters because a lot of people on LinkedIn withhold engagement. They will watch your post. They will watch every video. They'll read every newsletter. I have clients that start with me and have like, I followed all your content the last 2 years. They've never liked it. They've never commented. It's pretty much the norm. So there's a lot of what's called dark social on LinkedIn. A lot of your network, especially your ideal buyer, may be watching. And really what they're looking for is this person the expert that they say they are? You know, how does their solution differ? How is it better, especially in our situation? How can I reach them? And they're really looking for that consistency. So when it is the right time for them to bring on an expert like yourself, or allocate part of that budget to whatever it is that you provide, then you're the first person that they think of. However, a lot of people will quit way too soon because they think that no one's watching because they're not getting comments from their ideal buyer. And that is one of the biggest misconceptions on LinkedIn. So when you create the live video event and you start to get more engagement and comments, what does that prove? It proves that they're live. It proves that they accepted your invite. It proves that they're interested in this topic. It proves that they use LinkedIn, that they're active. And it starts to give you a good idea of who may be most likely paying attention, even if they don't comment a lot on your content in the feed. So this is actually critical, and a lot of people don't even realize this on LinkedIn. The other thing that's a huge data point is watch time. So the typical watch time for LinkedIn Live video is 20 minutes. That is insane. I want you to think about that. Most people will put all their time, effort, and energy into these pretty short video clips, which is great to grow and to get attention, to stay top of mind. I'm not against that. But a lot of the times they're putting like 90% of their energy there, and they don't necessarily have the skills yet or the awareness to know what to share to capture that attention. And they don't necessarily have the right team behind them to do so. So they're putting a lot of time and energy, and then the average watch time for those videos is like 1 second, versus the average watch time on a LinkedIn Live video is 20 minutes. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds versus 20 minutes. That is insane. Let's just say that you posted a 1-minute video 5 times a week on LinkedIn. And let's say that by some miracle, every single person, like you had 100% watch time. That would mean that the average person is watching your video like 1 minute. Those 5 minutes would still be 1/4 of 20 minutes. And I would argue that the people that are watching the live video, because of the filtration with the personality, your personality, the filtration with the messaging, the filtration with the topic, that they're going to be more ideal buyers anyway. So that's what you're leaving on the table. It's an acceleration really of that mind share. How many short form videos? And I'm not saying that you don't need to do that. What I am saying is that if you're going to start somewhere, this gives you more leverage. And it also accelerates that 20 minutes of mind share, accelerates that association of correlating your name with your solution, your name with what you do, which is how you get to the point where you think of Shanae, you may think of LinkedIn, right? Where you think of Shanae, you may think of live video. That didn't happen with one post. That didn't happen with one live. That happened with maybe years of posts, or maybe hundreds of posts, or maybe 5 videos. But those videos were not 1 second hits either. So you have to think about that acceleration, because when your ICP on LinkedIn needs what it is that you provide, you want to already have owned that mind share. Oh, I need to reach out to so and so. Oh, I need to send someone on the team to reach out to that person on LinkedIn that I always see their lives. All right. So that's just the data of this. Claire. Oh, so the person that I was talking about is in the live, Claire. So she's the one that she helps medical sales reps get to the next level. And of course, she could never say that, but there's a strategy to it. What's up, Claire? Text me if you're still on here about the other thing. So let's get to the 10 steps though, because that's just the data. And I know it's insane data, but we'll get to the 10 steps. So here are the 10 steps, the 10-step strategic guide for established small business owners to go live on LinkedIn in 2026. The first step is you need to commit. People have this sense that like one live is going to absolutely change their business. I would say that don't even start this process until you can commit to doing once a month. And ideally, if you're at the point where you have at least 2,000 connections on LinkedIn, or you're going to be getting very, very serious about posting content on the feed to get to that 2,000 to 4,000 connection marker as quickly as possible within the next 30 days, the next 60 days, the next 90 days tops. Because once you hit that 4,000 connection point marker, then you could really max out the live events, and we'll talk about that shortly. So really, the minimum that you can go live is once a month, and we'll get into the ability for LinkedIn live events. So LinkedIn live events give you unfair advantage because whether you're aware of this or not, LinkedIn will allow you to invite 1,000 of your first degree connections to your live event every week, which means that if you're doing one a month, that's 4,000 people that you could invite to your live event for free. There are also other things that, again, will segment that audience to be better and higher probability to be your ICP, which is exactly who you want at your live video events if your goal is to get inbound business. So start where you are, but a good kind of cadence that I have seen with clients is the first 3 months. So month 1, month 2, month 3, they're doing one live video event a month. One of the things that I look at when I'm working with clients is live video 2 better than number 1? And by better, I mean, do they make the proper introduction? Is the call to action mentioned multiple times in a non-nervous or less nervous way throughout the live video event? Does the topic resonate with their ICP? Are they proving that they actually know what they're talking about as I listen to the live, or is it just surface level stuff? Do I feel like I have a reason to go to the website or to the next thing as I listen if I were their ICP? So on and so forth, so on and so forth. So it's just continuous improvement. So is month 2 better than month 1? Is month 3 better than month 2? And how do they navigate technical issues, if any? What questions are asked during the lives? Are they addressed accordingly, superficially? Do they get better when they answer questions on the spot, or is that not their forte? Do they present better with slides, without slides? Do they get energized around certain topics that may resonate with their ICP? Because if so, then those are the topics that we may want to double down on, because those are the things that really bring out their personality. And as we learned last week, personality is one of the moats as you're building your personal brand in the age of AI. So those are the things that I'm just looking for. And it's very hard to do that if someone's just like, yeah, I'm going to go live once a quarter. It's hard to get that progression. So don't even start this journey unless you're willing to go live once a month. Then for the second set of 3 months, go live twice a month. So you don't just want to stay where you're comfortable, you want to up it. And then maybe the third set of 3 months or the following 6 months, you can go live on multiple platforms. You can introduce an interview style live event where you interview a thought leader and then you collaborate, get in front of their network. Maybe if you have a co-founder, you start to do like a live podcast. There are many different ways. Maybe you do a webinar, but you're introducing kind of a new style of live event in the mix because you want to diversify the content and you also just want to improve your skills. The other option for the next 6 months is just instead of going live every other week, you go live once a week, right? And you just improve and get better and better. And then obviously after, a data set of 12, of 10, you start to see, oh, these were the highest performers, not just in terms of metrics on the front end, but in terms of, oh, when we did these 3 lives, we got like 5 awesome inbound leads that day. And then, 2 of those leads turned into great clients that we still have today. So you know which topics and stuff to double down on. So that's step 1, is you need to commit. Commit or don't start. Step 2 is the rule of 1. And I've updated this because I've had this rule of 1 for a long time where it's, one goal, one metric of success. So what's the one goal what's the one thing you want to leverage LinkedIn for aligned with your business goals? And maybe your top business goal is to grow your email list, because your email list is how you measure how successful you all are going to be. And so obviously the metric of success there would be how many emails do we get from this LinkedIn live video? Maybe it's inbound calls, maybe it's views. I don't know what it is for your business, but usually it would be one metric of success, one target audience, one call to action. But because we're in 2026, one of the things that I want to introduce is one category. And we talked about this a little bit last week, but I will be doing a live video just talking about how to own your category, because in 2026, you don't just have to build your brand. You really shouldn't be thinking of it that way. You should approach brand building as category ownership. And not just category ownership in its totality, but for a specific audience. So for example, I have a client, she comes to me, she's an executive performance coach, but a lot of her ICP are attorneys. We're not going to be executive performance coaches anymore. That's a big category. We're going to own the category for attorneys. So now she's going to become the go-to executive performance coach for attorneys. And for her, that makes absolute sense because she, studied law for a long time. She's an attorney, so on and so forth. So we are strategically going to own that category to where 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now, 12 months from now, anybody even mentions a question in their ChatGPT, in Claude, in Google Gemini related to those two things, related to performance, related to, an attorney asking a variance of questions, she's going to pop up, okay? And so I want you to audit that for yourself. For me, I should double down on LinkedIn live video. For business owners, I should own that category. Well, I kind of do already, right? I have to pat myself. That's funny. Okay, but I could continue to just dominate that category, and I could even do like live video for B2B experts, and I could even own, webinars. Like, there's so much, but I should lean in on live because it's less competition, and it's honestly where my top valuable skills in 2026 align. So audit that for yourself. What are your top skills that in the next 12 to 18 months, 24 months are least likely to be replaced by AI? And how can you align those skills with your category, and who are you going to serve? Your category could even be more specific to your ICP, right? So instead of saying small business owners, it could be B2B experts doing at least, $5 million a year with a high ticket offer of $100,000 at least. Okay, so I could just own that category just by narrowing the ICP, right? And why is this important? This is important because if a business owner is like, hey, I need someone to teach me live on LinkedIn, or they're just talking to their ChatGPT, and their ChatGPT is like, hey, you should probably go live on LinkedIn, and they sell some product, a physical product, then I wouldn't be the one being suggested, because I don't do physical products. I don't really teach how to sell physical products live. Another person would. But if they are a B2B expert, if their offer is anywhere between $100,000 to $250,000 because they do, like a year-long thing, they go in with a team, whatever, then I would probably be suggested. And for me, that would work because those are my people, right? So you have to think about, if you don't niche down, what's going to cost you is you're not going to be able to own a category. So you have to make that choice. And it's just going to be more and more prevalent as AI search continues to evolve. So number 2 is the rule of 1, but really specifically getting down to owning your category. And this is critical because if you say you want to own a category and then your live event title on LinkedIn does not match that, then there's a mismatch. And then that LinkedIn live event can't work for you as a signal to category ownership when it comes to ranking on Google AI mode, when it comes to just being a signal that AI can see, like, oh, this person is an expert. They just went live on LinkedIn. This was the title. If it doesn't help you own that category, okay? Like for me, this video, which is probably going to be at least an hour, is going to help me own the live video category for B2B experts in 2026. And why? Because the agents are going to see, oh, not only did she go live, she went live for like an hour. She answered a lot of questions. The content is not something that you could just search and research. And on top of that, she's been live over 100 times. And on top of that, she has content for the last 3 years across multiple platforms talking about live video. Okay. So number 3, your topic is your filter. This is something that people make a big mistake on LinkedIn is, well, I have to say it. I always say like LinkedIn live video is not Instagram where you eat your chicken wings in your pajamas and hang out, which is fine. Like I love watching TikTok lives here and there, Instagram lives, and those people are like people I watch for entertainment and they're just hanging out. But when you have to prove that you're an expert and when your service is a certain amount of investment, then you need to prove to me that you're the real deal before I even book a consultation. And a lot of the times that just is not going to happen if you're in your pajamas eating chicken wings. And it's going to be very hard if, let's say, the VP sees it or the CFO sees it, and then they have to give it to the CEO, or the CEO sees it, the founder CEO sees it, and they have to sell you to the CFO, then it's going to be harder for them to sell you internally in terms of getting that approved and getting you onboarded and stuff than it would be otherwise. So you want to make sure that you approach this with a certain level of respect, so to speak, and with a certain level of, I would say, like, look at it more like you're doing a TED Talk almost, where you do have a very high quality live audience and with a certain sense of preparation. You don't just want to wing this, even if you are an expert. And part of not winging it is choosing the right title and choosing a title that will filter and that will send the signal that this is for your ICP and only your ICP. So for example, a bad example for me would be like LinkedIn marketing tips. If I just did a LinkedIn live event that was called LinkedIn marketing tips, it could be for CEOs, it could be for students, it could be for people that have a job, professionals, it could be for anybody. But if I put live video strategies for CEOs, now if you register for the live, you're telling me that you're at least open to live video and that you see yourself as a CEO, or you're probably a business owner, entrepreneur, because you're self-selecting. So yes, everyone that's not interested in live video will not register. I don't care. Everyone that doesn't see themselves as a business owner or CEO will not register. I don't care. Why? Because that is my ICP and I'm here to serve them. So you want to make sure that you're totally okay with that. And if you don't, then you're going to have a list of attendees for your live video event that is all over the place and that isn't your ICP. And then you're going to have to sift through, 300, 400 names, and 10 of them are your ICP instead of sifting through 130 are your ICP, right? So just make sure that your you understand that when your LinkedIn live event is posted, when people click attend, when you send the invites, the first thing they're going to see is the live video event title. Okay. So number 4, I love this. Your live started a month ago. Your live video started 1 month ago. Not 1 day ago, not 1 week ago, 1 month ago. People will be like, how does this person get people to this live event? A lot of hard work. Okay. Even the people that are like, oh, I just had $1 million launch. I just had a $50,000 launch. I just had a $100,000 launch. You best believe that before that launch, they probably had, 24 that didn't go the way that they wanted. They learned, they hit their face and teeth on the concrete, they invested in coaches, whatever, to finally figure out what works for them in their business and then scaled that up. So the thing to understand is that if you're going to do this, you have to take a mental note that your probability of success will increase the more high quality people, so the more your ICP watches this live video, assuming that your messaging is good, right? So we're just going to assume that your messaging is going to be on the mark, which a lot of people's messaging is not, but we're going to assume that yours is. Given that, your probability of success, your probability of getting inbound, your probability of getting high quality inbound that is ready to move today or tomorrow or by next week, whatever, is going to increase the more your ICP watches this live video event. What does that mean? That means you're not going to schedule a live video event today for tomorrow, right? That means that when you have the ability to invite 4,000 people to your live video event, you don't say, well, I'm just going to invite my ICP. No, that means you invite 1,000 people a week and you put the ability for them to self-filter on them, because really you can't guess everyone. I'm working one-on-one with a couple, my ICP, okay? One of them, their profile is my ICP. The other person, their profile is not. So if I would have filtered him out in my invites, they wouldn't be my clients today. So you can focus on what you can control, which is your messaging. Now you can control certain things, like if you can only work with people in the US, okay, invite leaders in the US. But there's no way on LinkedIn when you go to invite the 1,000 for you to invite based on role. So you're going to have to just put it out there, 1,000 a week. I'm saying this because you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people that are like, no, I don't want to invite the 1,000 because some of my colleagues that I worked with 25 years ago will see it, and let it go. Okay, so make sure that you leverage the 1,000. If you invite 4,000 people to your live video event, you should get around 500 people that click attend. And if you have a high quality network, and if your title was correct in terms of being very specific, who it's for, what it's going to be about, then they should be at least 30% of them should at least be your on the mark ICP just from looking at their profile. Okay. So that is huge. You should have at least 100 people from the 500 show up live. And if your messaging is good, you should get people reaching out to you that day. If you have 5 calls, you should at least close at least 2 of them. Okay. If that's not happening, if the numbers are happening, but nothing is happening after that, like you're not getting calls or whatever, it's the messaging, or it's just urgency, or people aren't understanding your offer, or you just haven't built that trust prior. So it may be the first time they're ever seeing you because you never posted on LinkedIn prior to that. There are a few nuances there, but what I want you to do is you need to attempt this once a month for at least 3 months before you say that it's, oh, it doesn't work, or I need to do this or that, because 1 is not enough. Okay. So but the bigger the audience, the more people that watch, the odds are turning in your favor. Also, prior to your live, in terms of pre-live event distribution, you want to make sure that on top of inviting 1,000 people per week, you're also deciding with you and your team what you feel comfortable with in terms of using and leveraging your LinkedIn newsletter to remind people that you're having an event. So if I'm having an event in a month, maybe I'll send a LinkedIn newsletter next week saying, hey, in 3 weeks, I'm having this live video event. Maybe I'll send one once a week until the event. Or maybe I'll send one once next week, once again the week of, and then once daily, 3 days leading up to the event. Now, why is this critical? This is critical because LinkedIn Live events through the event feature will only allow you to invite first degree connections. If I distribute it through my LinkedIn newsletter and I'm like, hey, I'm hosting this event, this is who it's for, click here to attend, it's going to be on LinkedIn Live, click here to attend. That it's going to be at this time, this date, whatever. The people that are subscribers on my LinkedIn newsletter can be first, second, or third degree connections, because that is distributed to your followers, not just your connections. So what the LinkedIn newsletter does is it kind of closes the gap, and it puts the invite in front of second and third degree connections, which probably would not happen otherwise unless your content on the feed is reaching second and third degree connections, which it's probably not, unless it's extremely good. And just keep putting your questions in the comments. I'll get to it when we're done here. So number 5, prove your expertise. This is so critical. If, again, the purpose of the live video event is to pretend you're your ICP, they're watching, the entire time they have to be like, wow, this person like really knows what they're talking about. Like the case studies make sense. Oh, I didn't hear that data point before. That makes logical sense. I haven't heard it said that way, that solution. If you're just regurgitating everything that they've heard before, like if I said, this is the morning routine that will build your personal brand to the moon or something, as a small business owner, and I tell you, you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you don't touch your phone for an hour, you go outside and barefoot and touch grass. Like, you've heard this all before. I'm boring. I'm not providing anything new. I have not proven that I know what I'm talking about. I have not proven my expertise. I've just proven that I could read other people's stuff, right? So unless you're really bringing some experience, frameworks that are different, bold beliefs that other people in your industry don't have, specific strategies that help that specific ICP in the current market, you need to really think about, what can I share where when this person hears it, they're like, oh, this person's the real deal. I know they can help me and I want to reach out to them. If your content does not get to that point, then it just needs to be adjusted. The other big mistake that I see when people are preparing for the LinkedIn Live events is that they have a tendency to go into convincing mode. But from experience, what I have seen is that when you go into convincing mode, you're not speaking to the right buyer. I'm not convincing you in this presentation to go live. I'm just giving you helpful and useful strategies to do so. I have zero desire to convince you to go live. Here's the data. You can see it or not see it. Here's why I think it's valuable. You can see it or not see it. And here's the 10 steps that work for me and for my clients. And I've trained hundreds of business owners and I've gone live hundreds of times. You can take it or leave it. So I'm just sharing helpful strategies, and I'm really trying to just deeply resonate to my ICP. I'm not trying to be like, oh, if you're afraid of video, this is where you start, or, oh, you may be thinking that, why is live video important? And, is it necessary? Can you get away with building a brand without live? I have no interest in people that have those questions because they are my ICP. So when you're preparing the content for your live video, and I think this is a huge mistake that we're taught in school, like in terms of university and just marketing lessons in general, is that it's our responsibility to educate. There are enough people in this world that are already educated about what it is that you sell, the solution that you provide, the problem that you solve, where you don't have to educate. They know they need it. They know they want it. They need someone to guide them to start. Or maybe now's the right time and you're just proving your expertise in front of them and they're like, let's do it. So try to, as you're preparing your content, stay away from persuading and just list the facts. This is the what I'm going to talk about. This is what I've done related to that thing. These are the 3 steps that I've seen work. These are the nuances related to each step. That's how you prove you're an expert. And lean into the things that you know, in your industry may have bold beliefs on that aren't necessarily the norm or the baseline. I could do a whole live on this, and I probably will. So number 6 is practice the tech and your delivery in advance. The last thing that you need is you've put in hours into preparing content. It resonates with your ICP. You're ready, you're good to go. And then there's, you know, a technical issue that you were really in control of. And a lot of the times this is just not practicing the studio or the technology that you're going to use in advance. So a lot of times people will use either StreamYard or Restream.io. I recommend either of those two. And the first time that they'll be going into their studio is 15 seconds before the live video event. You don't want to do that because it just leaves a lot of room for error. And a lot of these things are now on browser. So you have to make sure that your microphone is connected and your camera and all of those things. And so just make sure that you do a technical check at least a few days in advance, and that you're not just going in 15 minutes prior and you know, just testing out the tech. The other thing is that you want to always think about repurposability. So one of the big mistakes that I see people make is that they will put their name or like a big banner in front of them on the video. And that's cute, that's great. But what they don't realize is that if they have a team to repurpose the content, now the content is 100 times harder to repurpose. Or now I have to zoom so close to your face that we're going to see your eyeballs, like the veins and all of that, because there was a banner that like is right under here. And so now we have to zoom in from here to here. And it's just, so think about that. And I'm saying this because these are the mistakes that we all make along the way. The other thing is that, let me see anything else on the camera. The other thing is you don't have to start with the fancy camera. So just have a clean background. I really am against fake backgrounds. It decreases trust. I've spoken to several experts that are like in charge of PR of kings and queens and politicians, and the fake backgrounds just decrease trust. And they're also very, I don't want to say irritating, but they are irritating to me, but they can be, what's the right word? They can take the attention away from you. So if you have a Hawaiian beach behind you and then I see kind of it's blurry, I'm thinking, well, what is the background? Distracting is the right word. It's like, well, what does the real background look like? And now I'm not thinking about the content at all. You're not the center focus. And so it doesn't have to be fancy, but just have like a clean background. And then as you're doing your lives and as you're progressing in your personal brand, then yes, the quality, your audience will probably expect your quality in terms of camera, in terms of setup to improve. And there's a time and a place for that. But don't let the tech or the fear of tech stop you. You know, I just had a client, she did her first live video, and more than anything, the barrier for her was just a mental barrier around tech. And we worked through that. And now she's going to be doing her live. She brought the energy. It was so amazing to see her shine. And now she's not afraid of the tech. So don't allow the tech to be a barrier for you to share things that could help people and that could resonate with your ICP. Number 7 is bring the energy. So I was actually going back and forth with Claude the other day, and it asked me, like, what's the biggest mistake that, you know, business owners make when it comes to live video? And the first thing that I could think of is that when they get on the camera, it looks like they don't want to be there. If you get on live and you look like you hate it, you look like You look like you don't want to be there. You look like you're miserable. I I don't know if I'm afraid of you or I don't know what's going on. It puts me in a bad mood. I'm not trying to be in a bad mood, and it's just not uh it's not conducive. So this is why the first thing is like commit, you know, because you don't want to just dread the experience. It should not be a dreading. It should be like, wow, I get this opportunity to share what I know with people. And even if nobody shows up live, to share what I know with like hundreds of replay viewers, or to just do this thing that I was afraid to do, that then I get to say I did it and then I'll get better next time. The energy really does matter. And so you have to be cognizant of that. It's not just what you're saying, who you're saying it to, it's also how you're saying it, because personality will become a bigger and bigger moat as AI gets better and better at videos. So just if you look like a drone robot, you know, your personality won't be that hard to commoditize and to replace with an avatar. So it's okay to be nervous, by the way. This is different than, you know, looking miserable or looking like you don't want to be somewhere is different than being nervous. And if you're on your first live video or your first few live videos, it's okay to just call out in the room, hey, this is my first live and I'm very nervous. People will understand that. People on LinkedIn are very supportive, very understanding, and it is what it is. Number 8, distribute like a pro. So part of starting your journey to going live at least once a month is understanding that after the live video, there is going to be a 60-minute, a 30-minute, a 90-minute asset that you are going to now be responsible for distributing, because it should just not live as a replay on your profile. At minimum, what you want to do is send a replay through your LinkedIn newsletter. Hey, I went live earlier today. Here's who it's for. Here's what I covered. Click here to watch the replay. You'll get at least a couple hundred viewers that way. And that's just, again, through the replay, through your LinkedIn newsletter. You want to get the best video clip moments from your live video event that resonate with your ICP. And again, this is why it's so important that the topic that you choose, that the subtopics within your live, that the entire messaging resonates with your ICP, because if not, then what you're going to do is you're going to clip videos and scale videos that are not going to resonate with your buyer. And obviously, the better you get at the messaging, the better the clips resonate. Obviously, the 3 subtopics within each live, or the major subtopics within each live, like in this case, it'll be 10, right? Because there's a 10-step guide. Don't start with 10. I have a little bit of experience. You want to start with like 3. 3 is a good place to start. So each of those 10 could be its own newsletter. Each of those 10 could be its own LinkedIn post. Each of those 10 could be its own video clip, so on and so forth. So ideally with this video, at minimum, I'm getting 30 pieces of content. That's at minimum. And that's just on LinkedIn. That's not even deploying those video clips other places or getting different variations of those video clips. Now, that doesn't matter if what you're sharing is superficial, your ICP has heard it all before, you have no personality, then everything that you scale will just be a flop. So this is why it's critical to go into the live. Like, you're performing, you're taking it seriously, as serious as you would really talking on a stage. Because, you know, the thing is, the ironic thing is that people will go on a stage and they'll prepare for months. There'll be like 100 people in the room or 200 people in the room. And this just like boggles my mind. And then the only thing that they will leverage from that stage is like one video clip and like something on their profile that says that they're a speaker, or like a picture that they put in their background photo. And that's a whole other problem, is like people don't leverage real in-person speaking enough. But the fact that you could, if you have 4,000 connections on LinkedIn, get that same audience every single month. 4 out of those 5 people are, you know, buyers, like decision makers, potential buyers, that could accelerate your sales cycle. that can be just like the direct point of contact. We're not like networking and then you have to call me next week. And no, you could call me today right after. And to not take it as seriously is just wild to me sometimes. But if you don't produce quality material in your messaging, then the distribution thing is kind of, won't go anywhere. But you want to go in having a plan to distribute and be realistic. What bandwidth do you have? Where do you start your first month? Maybe the first month you do like 4 video clips and 2 newsletters, but you want to compound, and then you want to track how each of those posts perform and stuff like that. Number 9 is watch the replay like a coach. Again, like great athletes will sit down and watch their video footage back. Where could they have improved? Where could they have resonated better or whatever, did a different play? Where did they crumble under stress or pressure? You want to do the same. And you could easily do this, not just by listening to yourself and watching the replay, but you could also just input into your favorite chat. So you could take the transcript and you could say, what are the strengths? Where could I improve? Where does it fall weak? Where should I have improved the messaging to resonate with my ICP? Who is my ICP based on this transcript? If it's like, I don't know, there's a huge problem. What frameworks could be gathered from what I shared? What should I name those frameworks? There's a lot. But the thing is that if you're not using your voice, if you're not speaking, if you're not putting it out there, then you can't really audit what it is. And I truly believe that the best use of AI when it comes to writing content is not writing something from scratch with AI. It's really leveraging your voice, your God-given voice that you were given. It's not a coincidence, like the power of the word in the Bible and all of those things. I really believe that what you say has power and you can resonate with people that way. But the thing is that I believe that AI is better used to take your original thoughts, your original quotes, your original experiences, your steps, your frameworks, the nuances, and then maybe organize it better for text posts and newsletters. So it's assisted versus just generating things that you really don't believe or that you really have no depth related to. And if someone were to ask you about those things in an in-person event, hey, I like that post that you did about such and such framework or such and such this, you really wouldn't even probably know about it because it didn't really come from you. And I think there's just a difference. I may be wrong. No, I'm not. Number 10, rinse and repeat. So this is basically do it again, okay? There should be a rule in your mind that from the second one live ends, you should be scheduling your next one. Or you should already know when your next one is, and you're just creating the event. And you want to also look at your audience. So, if people reach out to me after this live and it's like 2 out of the 3 mention the same thing from the live, that could be an indicator to me that I should probably do another live focused on that thing. It's an early indicator, but the thing with live video is that you get the ability to answer people's questions like I'm about to do. You get audience engagement. You get, feedback on the back end for inbound calls and things like that. And so you don't just want to do it once and be like, oh, bye. You really want to get better at it, master the skill, because maybe you want to do webinars. Maybe you want to become a better speaker. Maybe you want to get invited on podcasts and be a better speaker on podcasts. Maybe you want to start hosting in-person live events in 2026 for a community. Live video will help you get there, especially when it comes to like multi-day challenges, especially when it comes to hosting live events within a community. You're going to have better moderation skills, better preparation skills, better speaking skills. And I can't tell you how many clients of mine have been invited on, established podcasts within their industry just because someone saw them live, or they got invited to speak at certain events because someone saw them live. Because now that person has a sense for how it is that they communicate, what they're an expert at, and the risk of inviting them and them not jiving with the group or not having personality or not being able to speak goes down because they were able to witness you live. So from the second that your one event ends, make sure that you schedule the next one. And get into an operational cadence of when you will go live, how long, what the deployment of the distribution of content will be after the fact. And you really just want to master the skill because it's one of the skills that will protect your business and help you gain the most leverage as you're building your personal brand on LinkedIn in 2026 as an established business owner. And that is the end of number 10. So let's answer some questions. Okay. So let me see the chat. And I hope you enjoyed it. So how far in advance can you plan out those events? 10 weeks away, 10,000 invites. Yes. Okay, yes. So you could technically do like one a quarter, and then you would have, 1,000 invites every single week. The only reason why I don't recommend that for most people, now I'm saying for most people, is because they don't have the skills required to have a successful live and to have a successful conversion machine within that live. So if you're putting all your eggs in one basket per quarter, if you don't have the skills to shine on that stage, you're putting a lot on the line. And it's like putting like 200 pounds on like somebody that's just learning to run, So, however, if someone is already established, like I have a client that I worked with last year, he came to me, he already had almost 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, 30,000, we got him to 30,000 LinkedIn followers. And and he has like 250,000 people on his email list. Someone like him could do that. And Claire, someone like you could do that. But that's because you have the skills to be able to present and to be able to convert. And you would also have a team behind you, even if it's a small team, where you could navigate certain technical difficulties and where you could have a deployment strategy of the replay and all of those things. You also have a clear idea of what your offer is, a website, but when someone is just starting, I don't recommend that because it could be a lot to lose. Would it be a good idea to integrate LLM on our profiles when not online on LinkedIn? No. Stop using, I'm going to say this, and I love AI. So I'm not like anti-AI or whatever. You could go to my YouTube channel. There's a lot of AI tutorials, but I'm going to tell you right now, stop using AI on LinkedIn to comment on people's posts. Stop using AI on LinkedIn to DM people. Stop using AI on LinkedIn to post, to create your posts from scratch when it doesn't really come from you. And I'm telling you this as someone who talks to a lot of leaders. The biggest complaint that I get are, oh, so-and-so's comments are, I know they're AI. I don't want to be associated with it. How do I stop my post from getting AI comments? And the only thing is to block you. And I'm telling them to block you. So I'll share this, and I shared it on the last live, is like, people will be like, oh, well, I did 100 comments or, oh, I did 100 messages and 3 people replied and I got a lead or whatever. But where people really lose sight of is the 97 other people that now will never do business with you or that will actually not want to be associated with your brand and how you're operating on LinkedIn because of how you're approaching them. And I'm telling you as someone who is a proponent for AI, it's only working against you with the big buyers, especially with the big buyers. What if no one joins? That's fine. So don't start this unless you're totally okay with, like, if it were a disaster, the internet broke, 0 people joined the live, you still gain value from it. Number 1, you practice your skills. Okay. Number 2, you get guaranteed distribution through the replay, through distributing it through your LinkedIn newsletter. So even if you have 500 subscribers on your LinkedIn newsletter, about 40 to 50% of them should be opening the weekly newsletter. And that's at least 200 guaranteed viewers, not including people that come to your profile. So that's number one. You're going to get guaranteed viewers no matter what. Number two, it's not just for the short term, it's for the long-term asset. It's for the long-term asset that maybe you could also post on YouTube. And because you get signals from LinkedIn and YouTube, now you're number one on AI search for that particular thing in your category. It's for the 40 posts or the 20 posts or the 10 posts that you distribute that you also are able to derive from the live. It's just the boost of confidence that like you did it. Even when there was, listen, when I started on YouTube, there was 0 people on the live. I did it anyway. And that's just because I know things compound. So don't worry about that. Is there a way to do a test live to have all a full setup and slides and sharing settings ready before the actual live? So you could do like a test live, but it would have to be in a different studio. Because if you connect, like if you create the LinkedIn live event in StreamYard and then you do a test live, it's null and void. Like you can't go back in there and then stream it to the same people that were registered. So the only way to do that would be to do like another studio. And then what I recommend is, I don't necessarily recommend doing the test live on LinkedIn. I recommend maybe connecting YouTube or Facebook or whatever, and just maybe streaming over there and just getting familiar with it. And then, then you'll be a little bit more prepared for the live event. This is a good question. Where are the other questions being submitted? On LinkedIn, but I can see both because it's streaming to both places. Any other questions? Another question I usually get is, should I use slides? And ideally, I say no. The only reason why I tend to say no, especially when I'm working with clients, why we won't use them at least initially, is because slides can be a crutch. So it could kind of pose as like the stadium thing when someone is speaking on a stage. It kind of covers them. It's like a protector. They don't feel so vulnerable and they could lean on it, but it's not the same. Like a lot of the most viral speeches really come from not being behind the podium. And so you want to push yourself. The other thing is that a lot of people want slides and create slides that don't necessarily need slides. And a lot of people just don't know how to create slides. They put way too much information on one slide. They stay 5 minutes on one slide versus, within 30 to 60 seconds, you should be moving on. And so there's just like a lot of nuances. Now, there are certain scenarios where slides are critical because it's very visual or whatever. But usually I tend to stay away from that in the beginning because it could be a crutch. The same thing with, can I have like a guest on my live? In the beginning, you probably just want to own the stage yourself. And the reason is because in the same way, having a guest constantly on your live can become a crutch unless you have evidence that like, you have this podcast, you invite guests on, and you have evidence that through this style, you generate like a ton of business, or you already have sponsorships or whatever, but it's already proven. I've seen way too often on LinkedIn that people will give their stages to everyone and everyone and their mother. And then these people do nothing for them in return, and they waste a lot of time. And in that period, they've also failed to build that resonance. So if every time I see you, you're putting someone else on the stage and I'm hearing about their expertise and how amazing they are, and I never hear about what you have to add or why you're amazing or your experience, your case studies, and really what it is that you do or where you want me to go to learn more, then I just kind of see you as like a springboard for other people and I'm kind of confused. So it doesn't build that category resonance for AI agents either, that are going to be the ones that are going to be searching for experts on behalf of humans. So just make sure that you understand that if you're doing too many collaborative interviews, that you understand the cost of that brand wise and the long-term cost of that when it comes to the agent's understanding whether they should suggest you or not. So I hope that you enjoyed this live video. I'll be live a couple more times this week. If you have any questions or any suggestions for future live events, anything specific that you want to learn, message me on LinkedIn at Shanae Moret, ShaneeMoret. If you want to learn more about LinkedIn Live video or just LinkedIn video in general, you should definitely go to the YouTube channel. We have a bunch of resources. I'll put it in the description. God bless you. Have a phenomenal week. Ciao.